Hello, I'm Tom Whitnick. Welcome to the KZGN News.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
In city news, last evening I attended the Ridgecrest Measure L committee meeting. It was held at City Hall at 5:30 p.m. All 5 members of the committee were in attendance. Also attending were City Manager Dennis Spear and Police Chief Ron Strand. The entire meeting was devoted to trying to finalize the initiative-required annual report. The initiative requires the report to be presented to the people every March. It was decided early on during the meeting that they probably would not meet the desired release date at next week's council meeting, which really is no big deal. The committee spent a lot of time going over the draft they had in front of them. While I could report on the findings now, I feel it would be premature and not appropriate to be releasing their findings before they have the data finalized. What I see is they are doing a good job, an important job. This committee is the people's eyes on the council to report to us how they are spending Measure L funds. The committee is realizing that this 5-year voter-approved initiative is now almost half over. So it won't be long until this will once again be going to a vote of the people to continue it. At the end of the meeting, they set another special meeting for March 23rd. This in an attempt to finalize the report to present to the council at their regular meeting on April 1st. Last Saturday, the City Council had a special meeting to again get more information out to the public concerning the Kern County Land Use Management Plan, where the county is proposing 3 alternatives to help the water situation in the valley. It was a packed house. The most controversial portions of the plan have to do with dealing with agricultural uses. Many feel that agricultural watering is the main reason for the falling water table in the valley. However, not everyone agrees with that. With that trying to be addressed in the county plan, it has created quite a lot of interest. I should include that of the 3 county recommendations, none will do anything to stop and turn around the current overdraft of water. At best, they just slow down the overdraft. What the plan does, in short, is that it recommends letting current agriculture use to continue, but to change the zoning of currently unused agricultural zone land to a different zoning to prevent any new agricultural uses. You can see that from their recommendations, some people will say this doesn't go far enough, and some will say it goes too far concerning private property rights. Anyway, the comment period for the plan is until March 16th. However, they will still continue taking comments past the date until the county officials meet to make their decisions. It should be noted that the supervisor will hold 3 meetings on the issue: April 28th, May 13th, and the final meeting is set to be May 19th. Mick Gleason is proposing they hold 1 meeting here in the valley on May 13th. The idea of holding a meeting here in Ridgecrest was started by KZGN-TV Ridgecrest talk host Robert Ironman. Let's hope we get the meeting here. After all, this is the area being impacted, not Bakersfield. In continued coverage of how code enforcement is working here in Ridgecrest, KZGN News contributor Tanya Pyle followed up with Ridgecrest Police Code Enforcement Officer Fred Booth regarding the status of properties overall in Ridgecrest. Booth said in Ridgecrest there is more than a 95% code compliance rate. According to Booth, the remaining small percentage end up being abated. Either they're cleaned up or torn down, and what remains is up to the owner. Booth said generally properties over 5 or more years behind in taxes often default and go up for auction by the county tax assessor. Often, property owners no longer live in Ridgecrest, where the long distance compromises their ability to maintain their properties. Most often, vacant properties get to be terribly run down and a nuisance to the neighborhood. Additionally, on several occasions, transients are found inside the structures on these properties. Property owners are given multiple opportunities to fix their properties before the city takes drastic action and does the abatement themselves. The cost of the abatement is then liened on the property. So if the owner doesn't pay off the lien, then the lien stays on the property until it is sold. Then the city gets their costs back. Currently, abatements are being funded by using Ridgecrest tax allocation bond funds. Please contact Code Enforcement Officer Fred Booth at 760-499-5118 if you have concerns regarding code enforcement issues. In Sierra Sands School District news, the district is trying to make sure everyone knows that the registration period for kindergarten began March 2nd. You need to register now if you plan on your child attending the school in fall. To register, you need to bring in the child's birth certificate, immunization records, proof of address, and a Social Security card. For more information, call the Sierra Sands School District office at 760-499-1860. Please stay tuned. We'll have more news when we come back. And now, the 26 KZGN News Talking Points editorial. Today's topic, what does it take to get the media to cover a real hero? But first, I need to address a mistake I made in last Tuesday's editorial. Last Tuesday's editorial was titled, Do We Really Need to Consider Terrorist Attacks When Deciding Where to Build a New Stadium? In the editorial, I stated that the former Department of Homeland Security Secretary Ridge was an Obama administration official. I was wrong. He was a Bush administration official. To my viewers and readers, I apologize for the error. As a matter of fact, tonight's editorial has been totally redone. Last week, I had received an email story from one of our viewers. The story had me outraged. Because of it, I wrote a whole editorial for today based on it. But before finalizing my editorial, I decided to check the source closer. Turns out, while the story was true, but that the story was very old. The context I had received it under was that it was a current story. It was not. So to anyone that was annoyed by my mistake last week, let me assure you, I am sorry for the error, and I've learned from it. But this story did still inspire today's editorial. Today's editorial is titled, What Does It Take to Get the Media to Cover a Real Hero's Death? Have you ever noticed how much time the media can devote to the passing of one of their own? Have you also noticed how much time they can devote to a Hollywood actor or actress when they pass? Well, this editorial is not meant to demean these people or their professions in any way. But I'm still amazed at how the media covers these deaths of these people. Last time I checked, we all got dressed the same way. But when it comes to getting dressed, I would say many of these famous people probably even have assistants helping them get dressed. Well, let's think about the country's real heroes, our men and women of the armed forces. How are they covered when they die by the media? How often are they covered the same as these media or Hollywood idols? Almost at least once a week we get bombarded by the media by one of their own or someone from Hollywood dying. Heck, just look at how much time was devoted last week to just the plane crash of Harrison Ford. As a matter of fact, I heard another update of the news yesterday about him. This was covered on every network, over and over, daily, for days. Would they ever give this much footage to a fallen military hero? Now I've got an example about this. And again, this is just an example, but it's a true story. I admit this is a bit dated, but it emphasizes my sentiment. Here's the story. You are critically wounded and dying in the jungle somewhere in the central highlands of Vietnam. It's November 11th, 1967. You're at landing zone X-ray. Your unit is outnumbered 8-1, and the enemy fire is so intense from 100 yards away that your commanding officer has ordered the medevac helicopters to stop coming in. You're lying there listening to the enemy machine guns, and you know you're not getting out. Your family is halfway around the world, 12,000 miles away, and you'll never see them again. As the world starts to fade in and out, you know this is the day. Then over the machine gun noise, you faintly hear the sound of a helicopter. You look up and see a Huey coming in. But it doesn't seem real because no medevac markings are on it. Captain Ed Freeman is coming in for you. He's not medevac, so it's not his job. But he heard the radio call and decided he's flying his Huey down into the machine gun fire anyway. Even after the medevacs were ordered not to come in, he's coming anyway. And he drops in and sits there in the machine gun fire as they load 3 of you at a time on board. Then he flies you up and out through the gunfire to the doctors and nurses and safety. And he kept coming back 13 more times until all the wounded were out. No one knew until the mission was over that the captain had been hit 4 times in the legs and arm. He took 29 of you and your buddies out that day. Some would not have made it without the captain and his Huey. Medal of Honor recipient Captain Ed Freeman, United States Air Force, died in 2009 at the age of 70 in Boise, Idaho. May God bless and rest his soul. Now, even though this is a story from 2009, it illustrates how media coverage could be provided. I know there are equally heroic stories going on even as we speak right now. But when will we hear a story from the mainstream media about these real heroes? And there are many police officers and fire officers that have sacrificed much for us as well. What about them? Again, I don't mean this to demean anyone's contribution to the society. It's just, to me, it seems more attention is given to the media's own people and Hollywood people when they die. In conclusion, how about it, mainstream media? How about covering real heroes as much as you cover your own people when they die? And I ask you viewers, if you know of any such stories, please send them to KZGN. We'd love to cover the stories of our local heroes. I'm Tom Wicknick, and that's what I think. If you have any comments about this editorial or would like to discuss or recommend a topic, I'd like to hear from you. Please email them to info@kzgn.net. And now stay tuned for stocks, weather, and sports when we come back. Now moving on to today's stock news. Well, the markets have been very crazy today, that's for sure, and they're moving down in a very rapid manner. The investors are not liking the numbers coming out of all the different areas. The Dow Jones is sitting at 17736 and trading down 278 points at news time. The Nasdaq is sitting at 4875 and trading down 72 points. And finally, the Standard & Poor's is currently at 2051, trading down 30 points. So these are pretty big moves on behalf of all 3 markets.
Before I tell you what to expect regionally and locally, this picture was submitted to us anonymously last week. This was after all that rain that we had. Goes to show you just how much the desert can change almost overnight. Now on to the regional weather. All the wet weather that has been hovering over Texas all the way to Georgia in those last couple of days has been moving off to the northeast. Temperatures, Massachusetts today was at 44 degrees. 71 degrees in the North and South Carolinas. 72 degrees in Kansas, 68 degrees in Idaho, 53 in Washington, and 56 in Oregon. For our local forecast, we are seeing a warm trend during the daytime hours with a slow but steady warming trend in the evening. Tonight will be mostly cloudy with a low around 48, calm wind. Wednesday will be mostly cloudy with a high near 73, light to variable wind from the south. Wednesday night will be mostly cloudy and gradually becoming clear with a low around 45 degrees. Thursday will be sunny with a high near 77. Thursday night, mostly clear with a low around 47. Friday will be sunny with a high near 81. South-southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Friday night will be mostly clear with a low around 46. Saturday will be mostly sunny with a high near 83. North-northwest wind around 5 miles per hour. And Saturday night will be partly cloudy with a low around 48. That is your KZGN weather. Have a good evening, folks.
And a very pleasant Tuesday afternoon to everybody. Let's start with local sports. Saracoso baseball this afternoon. They'll be at home trying to get that first elusive league win. They'll be taking on Chaffee. We're going to talk to Coach Scott here in just about 2 minutes. Real quick, NCAA basketball time. The Colonial Conference won by Northeastern of Boston. First time since '91 they've been in the big dance. They defeated William & Mary last night in New York. In the Metro Atlantic Conference, Manhattan beats Iona. That's the second time in a row Manhattan has won, 79-69 the final score in that game. All right, Wooford beats Furman for the Southern Conference, 67-64, back-to-back years for the Bears there. In the Summit Conference, South Dakota State beats North Dakota. North Dakota State beats Oral Roberts. Those two play tonight, the winners for the championship. And again, all these schools you'll hear in the NCAA tournament. They'll be on your card when you pick next week. In the West Coast Conference, Gonzaga, a big winner last night. They beat Pepperdine. Also BYU over Portland. BYU and Gonzaga tonight for the championship. Kentucky undefeated, 31-0. They could run the whole gauntlet, end up 40-0. That wouldn't be a big surprise. And in the women, the Big 12 won by Baylor. They beat Texas. Okay, NBA real quick. The Clippers a winner last night. They beat the T-Wolves. Anthony Davis scores 43 career high. Pelicans beat the Bucks. Celtics beat the Heat. And the Hawks win again, best team in the Eastern Division. Record-wise, the Bulls get a win. They might get Derrick Rose back in a couple of weeks. And the Grizzlies beat the Bulls. All right, I'm with head coach Justin Scott of Saracoso Baseball. Coach Scott, this afternoon you got Chafee coming up. You play them again Thursday, and then on Saturday. Talk to us about how things are going.
Well, they're about the last 10 games. We're on a 10-game slide, as you know, and so we're struggling. But, fortunately the kids are upbeat, practicing well, still eager. They just need to get a win pretty soon, or at least play good baseball and be close and have a chance to win, I think, and that will maybe get some momentum going.
Okay, now on the mound today, your plans are trying to mix things up a little bit and shuffle things around? Or?
Well, today we're going to have to, just for different reasons, it's going to be a game time decision or right before it. I think Rashad Jones potentially will get the start, but we got 2 or 3 guys that will probably kind of have to staff it today and just play it inning by inning. But as of now, that's the tentative plan.
All right. Coach, let's talk a little bit about, I know now, after we get done tonight, stay tuned because his wife, Shay, will be joining us, and she'll be talking about her career with softball. We talk a lot about baseball, the community. It was a good interview. Stay tuned for that one. You'll want to watch that. Coach Scott, let's talk about the league right now, the Foothill Conference. I've been around for 14 years here, and in my opinion, the most parity I have seen. Your thoughts after seeing everybody now?
Well, correct. You see a lot of teams that are similar, all good baseball teams. And I think it depends who's on the mound on any given day for any given team. But yeah, everybody's beating each other up and kind of splitting games that they've played, and it's just time for us to kind of join the party and get some wins in conference.
All right, Coach. Good luck. We'll talk to you again very soon. Coach Scott from Saracoso Baseball.
Thank you.
Okay, that's our sports for this Tuesday. Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only community TV station.